Hi everybody, welcome back to Vintage Fashion Hat Chat. I'm Norma Shephard, director of the Mobile Millinery Museum and the author of 5 books on vintage fashion, including 1,000 hats. So I'm back today to tell you, well, first of all, that yes, I caved. I yielded to temptation and bought a new hat, new fascinator, and I'll talk about this at the end of the video. I also want to give you a short update on what we're doing here at the museum, the Mobile Millinery Museum. I heard this past week from a relative of a wonderful lady and great fashion hat wearer who I interviewed almost 2 decades ago now for my book 1,000 Hats. And at the time she was kind enough to invite me into her home, show me her collection, and to photograph some of her very precious treasures that she had purchased from, actually they were custom made by the Canadian milliner Philip Ward of Toronto. Now I have done a video on great Canadian designers, and I will put that on an end card at the end of this video, because I do talk about Philip Ward in that video, of course. Now I just wanted to show you one of the hats that she allowed me to photograph for my book. This is in one of our special collections, and that would be the natural fur collections. And this, we're looking at this page here. This is a wonderful Philip Ward creation that he custom made for her. It's a brown felt, banded in black ribbon, absolutely stunning, and in natural mink. So there are others of her collection in this book, but as I say, I was thrilled to hear from her and to learn that she is turning 100, and so happy birthday, Joy, and starting to think about maybe not wearing hats so much. Now, what a wonderful example and fashion trendsetter she is. I mean, just how many of us are even wearing hats now, particularly through the pandemic? Fantastic. Anyway, so that was one thrilling encounter I had this week. Now, in the meantime, I have continued to work on hats for our Jubilee exhibit coming up in June, and that is Majestic Inspirations is the title of the exhibit. And more on that later, but I have to tell you, a lot of the pieces need a little bit of conservation. So that is what we're doing, pulling, grouping, curating a very wonderful exhibit to celebrate Her Majesty's 70 years. Now, as I was, of course, getting into the archives and making decisions, I came across 3 hats that are similarly styled. These are not for the exhibit, but I just want to show you similarly, maybe it's 4. Yeah, learning to count. They are similarly styled in that they are decorated with top knots. And I thought that might be something some of you might be interested in if you are hat makers or recreating hats. You know that, of course, that Coco Chanel started her famous fashion empire by remaking hats that already existed. And her sense of style was such a great hit that she was able to sell them very, very quickly. So I want to start with the simplest one. This one is from circa 1940s. Of course, it's a standard beret style. That's a classic. And of course, the classics have been done again and again with variations in different decades. And this is a lovely deep brown felt, a stiffened felt with a little self fabric band. And the top knot is self fabric too. And how simple is this? The way they've just taken a remnant of the felt and clipped it, and it centers this gorgeous, highly fashionable mid-20th century beret. You know, to me it looks almost like a lid to a casserole dish or something, or maybe a pie taker lid. Just, of course, milliners take their inspiration from everywhere. And I just think it's wonderful. The simplicity of it is terrific. There you go. So now moving a little further ahead in the 20th century, we're going to come to the 60s, where top knots were popular again, particularly done with feathers. Now this one I think is exquisite. It's almost a silvery gray. It's very light gray netting or tooling or veiling, which is layered to decorate the crown of this hat, almost a pumpkin-shaped crown. And along the edge, we have some clipped feathers that have been painted, and they show this wonderful, I'm hoping that the camera, well, it doesn't quite pick it up, but they're variegated from a deep gray to a silver, hand painted, as is the top knot, which is made of the feathers again, the clipped feathers. And you're almost tempted to just pick this up by the top knot, by the stem, almost like a pumpkin. Not a good idea. We want to protect the hat. Oh, it's just a wonderful, wonderful feathered crown. Now another one, a little bit smaller, but from the same era. These are done in peacock colors, creating a gorgeous mix. And in this instance, the feathers cover the entire crown, and they're protected with a little bit of peacock blue veiling. So you've got some shades of turquoise, green, a little bit of bronze, and of course these wonderful blues. And again, the top knot. Now this one, these feathers are adhered to some pads. These are stiffened felt pads. Feathers are glued to them to make this stem, this top knot, which is bigger than the others. So you see, even with this simple style, there's so many variations that you can do. I am not, oh yes I am, there is a label in this one. This is from Lily's Hat Shop in Burlington, and it is a georgette. It's lined with turquoise satin. A very pretty piece from the 1960s. Now, I do have four. The fourth one is in perfect condition. This is what I think of as a little Pebbles Flintstone hat. Again with the top knot. The base of this hat is a stiffened felt. And look at these wonderful autumn colors. The mix is terrific. And this hat almost looks like hair. When you wear it, these gorgeous burnt orange feathers almost form like a little bang or fringe. And then of course the feathers, the way they're done at the top, almost looks like, when we showed these hats, some people have called them volcano hats. The way the feathers erupt at the top. Just wonderful. When we began to collect hats 2 decades ago, actually a little more now, I was always on the hunt for beautiful feathered hats, as well as, you know, the florals and everything else. But they were harder to find, and antique dealers told us that as hats fell out of fashion, no one would purchase them. And so they took them apart, these feathered hats, and sold the feathers to fishermen to tie flies. So I guess a good way of recycling, but I'm sure some beautiful feathered hats went the way of destruction because of that, and because of the lack of interest. But of course, I've spoken about this before, how the decline of millinery was very, very closely associated with the second women's movement, and understandably so. But this sort of break from wearing hats is just a blip on the screen in you know, the history of fashion overall. So now to speak about this one, yes, I couldn't resist. It was, it's adorable. It's a Lilliput, Toronto designer, of course, and it's done on a hairband. Lightweight, doesn't move. It'd be great for a wedding, but it just sort of makes me feel a little girlish, and we all need some of that, especially as we're trying to endure this pandemic and come out looking forward to better days. And of course, happy February, 1st of February. You know, spring is coming, and so are occasions to wear spring hats. So I leave that with you. If you're interested in this type of content, we discuss all things millinery and millinery history. Please hit like, share, subscribe. Let your friends know about us. And you can also follow the Mobile Millinery Museum on Facebook. Until I see you again, have a happy day, and thanks for watching.